Well, hello Year 7. Welcome back to Impington Village College online learning. I hope you had a great half term. It's been lovely weather. I hope you got out in the gardens and out and about and a little bit of time off. Thank you for all those who submitted the Buddhism assignments. Some fantastic work there. And your teachers should be marking those and pinging those back to you on Teams as I speak. So what are we doing this term? Well, if you've read the overview, the 6-week plan, you can see that there's a theme, and there's going to be lots of research work in this particular unit, and it's about religion and festivals. But we're going to start by looking at community, because religious festivals really sit in the idea of what pulls together community. So we're going to look at what community is in this lesson. We're going to introduce religious festivals, and we're going to try and understand, as it says in the objectives there, how festivals might strengthen a religious community. So there are 3 things you actually need to write or draw or whatever it is, as you'll see. Otherwise, this is an introduction and there's lots of information to help and to make you think. So first of all, I want you to think, this is task 1. This is the thing you have to do. You can either print this screen out or you can just make a version of it. There's not a lot on it to actually have to make. There you go. What communities do you belong to? And to understand that, we have to think right back to September when we were talking about what is a community, what makes a community. And if you can't remember, well, look it up. What is a community? What are we talking about here? And then we want to think, well, what communities are you in? You know, for example, you're in a family community or in a school community, plus lots of other things that you may be involved with that I have no idea about that you're going to tell us. Okay, so there you go. That is a list, or it could be a mind map. It's up to you about what communities you belong to. And then I also want to think about where you live and what is your village or your town? Where do you live? What's it like as a community? I've just put Impington there and Milton as well. But ultimately, it depends where you live, doesn't it? So what's good about it? What is a good thing in your community? Are there things that your community could do better? And I want you to write down a couple of ideas for each as part of task 1. When you've done that, we're going to make a mind map about all the things that you consider makes a good community. Perhaps we could use the word strong, a strong community that pulls things together. So how do you see it? And this one is a mind map. And again, you can either print this slide out and do it on there, or you could just draw good community in a circle in the middle of a page and make a mind map. You know how to make a mind map. And then for task 3, I want to think about religious communities. And this is little bit of writing, a paragraph about how religions show strong aspects of community. Once you've decided what community is and how it's sort of all fits together, shall we say, how does religion show the same aspects? So there's a paragraph. And then secondly, we're going to prepare for next week's work by listing as many religious festivals as you can. It says list, and I want you to do that before you move on to the next slides, because I'm going to give you some examples. But let's see what you know before we actually have a look at some. You might be part of a religious festival or religious group, should I say, or a religion, and you might be used to attending festivals or being part of festivals, or you may have been to some of the festivals that we're going to talk about. So let's look at your own experience first of all and see what you know. And then over the next couple of weeks, which I'll talk to you more about next week, we're going to do research tasks and some presentation about some of those festivals. But this is preparation. This is just to think. So have a little think about what you've done. Write me a list on there. And then on this slide PowerPoint as well, there's a few examples here, and I'm not going to read through them all, but Christianity, look. Easter, you might not consider that Easter is a festival. What is Easter about? Easter is symbolic of something. The Easter egg is symbolic of something. The cross is symbolic of something. And there's some information there you can read. And you might choose Easter as one of your examples when we come to the research task, but you may not. But it's very important that you understand how Easter is a Christian festival. Eid al-Fitr, this was last week. If you've been following the news and keeping on top of things, or you might have been part of Eid yourself, Eid is a celebration of the end of the month of Ramadan, a month in which Muslims fast. and all kinds of things go on there about that. And it might be that you choose Eid as your example, but in the meanwhile, have a look, read through the information which tells you what that festival is all about. Diwali, a Hindu festival, the festival of light, and again celebrated on a different date most years because of the shift in the calendar, and lots of things that people do which are common to Diwali. So again, a little bit of information here, might be one you choose, in which case you can find out an awful lot more. Wesak is a Buddhist festival, and again it tells you lots of information on here why it's celebrated, and Wesak celebrates the Buddha's birthday, for example, and it's lots of information on there about that, and it might be one you choose. And then we've got Vaisakhi, which we've actually done this year in the Sikh unit that we did earlier in the year. We've done a little bit about Vaisakhi already, so I thought I'd stick that in there to give you a heads up, if you like. So there you go. We've got some religious festivals, and there's one more. Sorry, there's Passover, which is a Jewish festival, and that's why it tells you all about that. So they're just some examples to think about, a little bit of information to read through. It might be you look at those and go, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll take one of those as my example for my research task, which is coming up next week. Or actually you might want to go out and find out about a completely different one, or one that you can perhaps relate to better. Okay, so there you go. That's this week's work. You'll see where it says task 1, task 2, task 3, the things you actually have to write down as such, and then some information to get us prepared for next time. You don't need to submit this week's work, but it is important that you keep it in your book or your folder, and that will help you to get on top of things over the next couple of weeks. So there you go. Have a good week, and I shall be back next week with some more information about what happens next.